In 1993, DC Comics published the most iconic Batman storyline of the decade. Bane broke Batman's back. Azrael took over the cowl. Millions of copies sold. It was called Nightfall, and it changed the Batman franchise forever. 2 years later, DC published a comic that made fun of the entire thing. And it might be the darkest, most insane Batman story you've never read. This is Bat-Mite, a Legends of the Dark Mite special. Published in 1995, written by Alan Grant and drawn by Kevin O'Neill, who's the only artist in comic book history whose entire art style was banned by the Comics Code Authority. Not a specific image, not a violent scene. The code just looked at the way this man drew lines on paper and said, "This is objectionable." All of it. And DC handed him a Batman book. What he and Grant delivered is a 48-page fever dream that starts in Arkham Asylum, travels through an interdimensional war between tiny versions of the Justice League, and ends with a dead junkie lying in a graveyard while cops call him worthless. It's simultaneously one of the funniest and one of the most devastating comics DC has ever published, and almost nobody has ever read it. Let's fix that. The story opens inside Arkham Asylum. Our narrator is Bob Overdog. And Bob is not a superhero. He's an inmate. A recovering drug addict in a straitjacket who's been told by his doctor to keep a diary. Bob insists he's cured. He says his brain is straight. He feels like a hero, like a champion who wants to fight evil. His diary entries go like this. Day 1, nothing interesting happened. Day 2, nothing interesting happened. Day 3, he thinks he had a hallucination, but he's not sure. Day 4 and 5, more nothing. Day 6, somebody blew up the asylum. Now, this is where Alan Grant starts pulling directly from Nightfall. In the original story, Bane destroys Arkham and releases every villain to exhaust Batman. In Nightfall, the same thing happens, but filtered through Bob Overdog's confused, unreliable perspective. He finds out it was some guy called Bane, obviously a top man in the demolition business. Bob figures Bane had a contract with management to tear the place down. Then the Joker shows up, and the Joker tells Bob he should head to Las Vegas because talent scouts are looking to sign him to a recording deal. Bob, being the only sane person in the room, which isn't saying much, tries to reason with the Joker. Torture? Escape? Recording deal? Are you some kind of maniac? The Joker confirms that, yes, he is indeed a maniac. Then he shoots Bob point blank in the heart. Bob should be dead, but something saves him. His diary. The book Dr. Arkham made him keep stops the bullet. Bob takes this as a divine sign that his mission to do good has been officially sanctioned. He escapes into Gotham City. And here's where the story goes completely sideways. Bob renames himself Bob Underdog. He finds a group of drug users and tries to convert them to a clean lifestyle. He leaps onto their table, scatters their drugs, and delivers an impassioned anti-drug speech. Their response? They beat him within an inch of his life and force-feed him 3 tabs of acid. Now tripping on hallucinogens in a destroyed Gotham graveyard, Bob sees the bat signal in the sky. Then Batman himself appears, landing right in front of him. But it's not really Batman, it's Bat-Mite, a tiny imp-like creature from another dimension who worships Batman and has near-omnipotent reality-warping powers. Bat-Mite is one of the weirdest characters in DC history, a holdover from the goofiest era of 1950s comics. He appeared in Legends of the Dark Knight issue 38, which is where he first encountered Bob and inadvertently caused him to commit crimes that landed him in Arkham. Now Bat-Mite is back, and he's desperate. He tells Bob that a new villain has appeared in the Mite dimension, Bane-Mite, a dark, hulking, brooding creature who pumps himself full of a wonder drug called Toxic. Bane-Mite has already destroyed the Arkham Asylum, defeated the Justice Mites, and broken Bat-Mite's back. That's right, this comic literally recreates Bane breaking Batman's back, but with tiny interdimensional imps. Bat-Mite tried to get the real Batman's help, but he was too weak for Batman to even see him. So he came to the only human who can perceive him, Bob. And here's a twist that elevates this from parody to something genuinely moving. Bat-Mite tells Bob he needs a hero. Not a powerful one, not a skilled one, a true champion. Someone who can face violence and death without flinching. Bob, a drug-addled nobody in a straitjacket, agrees to be that hero. Bat-Mite gives him a costume, an absurdly overdesigned, hyper-detailed suit of armor that parodies the ridiculous Azrael Batman costume from KnightQuest. Bob becomes Overbat, champion of the little guy, a hero for the dimensionally challenged. The costume is one of the most insane pieces of comic art you'll ever see. Kevin O'Neill packs every square inch with mechanical detail, tubes, blades, and bat motifs. It's gorgeous and completely ridiculous at the same time. And then the comic shifts to Mite World. What follows is a full-scale interdimensional war. The Mite versions of every DC hero show up: Superman Mite, Wonder Woman Mite, Flash Mite, Green Lantern Mite. They confront Bane Mite, whose toxic gives him the power to defeat all of them. The Super Mite family attacks with heat vision and hammers. Bane Mite swats them like flies. He punches them through time periods. He sends them hurling into black holes. O'Neill draws this with absolute maximalist chaos. Every panel is overflowing with creatures, explosions, and visual gags. Meanwhile, Bat-Mite teleports Bob to the edge of an active volcano as a test. Bob is terrified, stranded on a narrow bridge over boiling lava. Bat-Mite disappears. Bob panics. Then something clicks. He stops being afraid. He tells himself, "I'm not a loser anymore, I'm a hero," and he crosses the bridge alone. Bat-Mite reappears and says Bob had to prove something to himself. He passed with flying colors. Back in Mite World, Bat-Mite has gathered every remaining hero Mite, the Vertigo Mites, including tiny versions of John Constantine, Swamp Thing, and Dream of the Endless. They're ready for a final assault. But Bob says no more violence. He'll stop Bane Mite his way. Bob confronts Bane Mite alone. And here's where Alan Grant drops the thematic hammer. Bob, the recovering addict, remembers something he once read while high. That when the golden light of purity shines, no evil or corruption can exist in its glow. The editor's note jokes that it was probably from a Silver Surfer comic, but it doesn't matter. Bob believes it, and he begins to glow. The light destroys Bane Mite's clones. It burns through the toxic. Bane Mite screams in pain. Bob stands at the center of an explosion of golden energy, shouting, "I'm good!" over and over. It's absurd, it's triumphant, it's the climax of a story about a drug addict finding the one thing inside himself that's pure. Purer than the cocaine he's been snorting his entire life. And then Alan Grant does something unforgivable, something brilliant and heartbreaking. After the victory, as the Mites celebrate, Bob spots a toxic injector lying on the ground. The same drug Bane Mite used. And despite everything, the heroism, the golden light, the proof that he could be good, Bob picks it up. His inner voice says, "Just once won't hurt. It's probably safe for humans." Bat-Mite screams for him to stop, but Bob inhales and his head explodes. The final page cuts back to Earth. Two cops find a body in Gotham Graveyard, a man in a straitjacket surrounded by scattered pills. They figured he jumped from a building. One cop recognizes him from the Arkham escape list, Bob Overdog. The other cop asks what his story was. Nothing. He was just some worthless junkie. The last panel shows Bob's corpse against a tombstone that reads, "He hath left this place for paradise." And then in Mite World, a golden statue of Overbat surrounded by cheering heroes with an inscription that reads, "Bob Overdog, aka Overbat, the man who saved the world." Two endings, two truths about the same man: the world that knew him threw him away, and the world that needed him built a monument. DC published this in 1995 and priced it at just under $5, and then never reprinted it. Kevin O'Neill passed away in 2022, and Alan Grant passed in 2022, also the same year. This was one of the last great collaborations between two creators who understood that the best superhero stories aren't about people who can fly. They're about people who can't and try anyway.